Hi, my name is Jonathan Pearl, and welcome. For the next few hours, I'll be taking you through Omnisphere, the wonderful new synthesizer from Spectrasonics. This synth has been designed from the ground up to be easy to use and navigate, and to get you down to the business of making music fast. After we take a look at the overview and hierarchy of the synthesizer, we'll then jump in and start making music with Omnisphere in live mode, where you can quickly switch between patches or create zones, splits, and layers. Then we'll go ahead and look at the same capability when working with a sequencer before we dive in to the nuts and bolts. We'll look at the oscillator section and see how sounds are built up from either digital waveforms or wonderful new samples, and how these sounds are modified with techniques such as FM, hard sync, ring mod, wave shaping, granular synthesis, and so on. After looking at the oscillator controls, we'll take a look at how these sounds can be manipulated and modulated in real time with performance controls, envelopes, and LFOs, and how quickly this is done with the new Flex Mod system. Flex Mod makes setting up modulations really fast and easy, and modifying them and seeing what's going on a breeze. We'll look at the mod envelopes, which help you create all sorts of shapes to modulate your sounds with. We'll take a look at Omnisphere's flexible arpeggiator, including its groove lock functionality, performance controls such as solo, legato, and glide modes, velocity curve editor, custom tuning and scales, and we'll take a look at Omnisphere's effects such as dynamics, filters, EQs, distortion, modulation, delays, reverbs, and so on. Okay, let's go have some fun. The first thing we need to do is understand the overall structure and hierarchy of the elements in Omnisphere. We'll start with the basic building block of all sounds in Omnisphere. This is called the sound source. There are two kinds of sound sources available, either digitally synthesized waveforms or sound sources based on groups of recorded samples. When selecting a sampled sound source, you may actually be selecting a large number of individual recordings. These samples are mapped to the keyboard by note pitch, and are also mapped or grouped by velocity ranges. This is similar to software or hardware samplers that you may already be familiar with. The next level is something called a layer. Each sound source is the starting point for sounds in the layer, and the layer contains all of Omnisphere's synthesis and sound shaping capabilities and modulation capabilities as well. So the sound source is completely transformed by the synthesis engine in each layer. So we have each layer beginning with a sound source, either synthesized or sampled, but not both. Two layers together are contained within each patch. A patch is a fully realized sound or program in Omnisphere. It can contain one or two layers, and it also contains patch-wide performance controls and parameters as well. The terms patch and part are used almost interchangeably in Omnisphere, because you can load up to 8 parts into each instance of the plugin, and each part contains a single patch. So, the patch is the complete Omnisphere sound contained within a part. Each patch can contain up to 2 layers, which begin with sound sources. Finally, at the highest level, the 8 parts are contained within something called the multi, within a single instance of Omnisphere. Now the multi is what you get when you load the plugin. It contains all of the parts with their patch assignments, as well as their mixer settings, volume and pan, global effects, keyboard stacks and splits, and live and stack mode settings, which we'll be looking at later. So here's the overall view. The multi contains 8 parts or patches, plus global mixer and effect settings and stack and live mode settings. Each patch can contain 1 or 2 layers, and the layers are built up starting with a synthesized or sampled sound source and the full synthesis engine of Omnisphere. When you load up to 8 parts in the multi, there's lots of cool things you can do, like stack and layer them, fade from one sound to another, do live performance keyboard splits and selections, or play multiple parts from your sequencer using just a single instance of Omnisphere. In this video, we'll cover the basics of Omnisphere's interface. The button to the top left will give us access to the main patch view. Top row buttons allow us to access parts 1 through 8 for patch loading, as well as access mixer and system-wide views. We're currently looking at part 1. Clicking on the Controls tab gives us access to patch-wide controls such as part level, velocity curve, pitch bend range, master filter, individual layer volumes, and solo and glide. Here we can see we have access to the 3 types of browsers: multi, patch, and sound source. Browser windows will be opened by clicking either on the middle blue bar or on the folder icon to the left. By clicking in the top area, we'll be opening the multi-browser. All the browsers offer many ways to search for sounds, including searchable filters by category and attribute, or by directory. We know that this is a multi-browser rather than patch or a sound source, because it says so at the very top, as well as in the lower right-hand info area. Here's an example of a patch browser, and here's an example of a sound source browser, but note that all 3 browsers work in the same fashion. Now we'll take a look at the edit page. This view gives us an inside look at all the synth parameters for each patch. Remember, each patch contains 2 layers, and we can switch between the 2 layers with these tabs over here. Within each active layer, you can select Sample as your sound source type and access the sound source browser directly without going to the main page. The rest of the edit page contains Omnisphere's oscillator and filter sections and modulators, the complete synthesis engine for each layer. Here we have the FX tab. It takes us to a virtual effects rack. These effects can be either for layer A, for layer B, or common effects for the entire patch. This button will take us to the arpeggiator editor. In this case, the arpeggiator is not active, and we'll see these power buttons throughout Omnisphere's interface. Clicking here on the multi button will take us to the mixer view, where we can see each of the 8 parts with their patch assignments, MIDI channel assignments, mute and solo buttons, as well as volume and pan and global effect settings. Within the mixer, we see that we have access to patch browsers. Clicking on any folder icon will open a browser to load a patch within each of the 8 parts. So we've seen that we have access to the browsers from a variety of locations within Omnisphere's interface.